Welcome to the lesson. Today we're looking at what? Friction. What is friction? When you have friction, we talk about an invisible force that always acts against what? Your motion. Okay? Friction is that force that opposes what? Motion. That is to say, if you are going right, friction will be pushing you backward or left, which you call what? A drag. For example, you can see this diagram. As I'm pushing this thing forward, there's an invisible force on the floor between the floor and the object that is pushing it what? Backward. That invisible force that always acts in the opposite direction is called what? Friction. Take note. Friction always acts what? In the opposite what? Direction. It always acts against your movement. That's why I would say it opposes what? Movement. There are two types of friction. Mainly, we call one static and call the other what? Kinetic or what? Dynamic. When we talk of kinetic or dynamic, we're talking about the force that opposes an object that is in what? Motion. When we talk about static, we're talking about the friction that makes an object to be what? One position. So static friction makes an object to be what? One position. While dynamic friction is the friction an object experience when it is in motion. For example, I have rolling friction. Okay? Rolling friction is experiencing what? Dynamic or friction. Why? Because as it's moving, it's also experiencing what? Friction. Then we also have what? Sliding friction. This is the friction you experience when you slide through what? A material. It is not just slide, okay? There's a little resistance. That little resistance is called what? Sliding friction. Beside this, we have what called fluid friction. Fluid friction, I told you a fluid is anything that can what? Flow. Liquid and gases are what? Fluid. A fluid friction is what you experience when you are swimming in water, when you are walking in what? Water. Another one is parachute. When you are falling down from the parachute, there is what? Friction that is acting against gravity. Gravity is pushing you down, but friction is trying to push you what? Up. So we said friction is a force that always acts in the opposite what? Direction. You can see it in this scenario. Now, you must know that a rough surface increases friction. Okay? Why? If a material is very heavy that is rubbing against another material, the friction will also be what? Increase. Those are the two main things that affect what? Friction. The rougher the surface, the more the friction. Okay? The more the weight of the object, the more the friction, and vice versa. Is friction good or bad? Friction is both good and friction is also bad. Why? Friction is good because without friction, this bicycle brake will fail. Is it not? It is friction that enables this bicycle to move and the brakes of the bicycle to also what? Hold when it is what? Needed. The same thing with our car. Without friction, if we are driving, we cannot what? Easily what? Hold brake. Then when we are walking, it's friction that enables us not to slide and fall down over and over. Okay? It's because our foot exerts friction with the what? Floor. And friction is good because it enables what? This man to what? Land. Do you see it now? Yes. Because of friction, he's able to land safely. But friction is bad. Why? Because it causes wear and tear of what? Material and also produces what? Heat. So if friction causes wear and tear of material and produces heat, what can we now do to what? Reduce friction. There are some few things we can do to reduce friction so that our machine part will not what? Break down easily. Some of those things we can do is one, we can make use of what? Rolling friction instead of what? Sliding friction. Instead of me trying to push this, I can use a simple wheel and axle to move it. Using wheel and axle reduces what? Friction. I can polish my surface. A polished surface means that the surface is smooth. When the surface is smooth, friction will be what? Reduced. Is it not? Yes. And finally, machine parts like your bicycle chain and your moving parts of engine can be what? Lubricated using what? Oil and other different materials like grease. Is it not? I want you to watch this video and learn more about what? Friction.
What would happen if you tried to slide across the smooth floor? You probably would move smoothly, right? Let's see one more action. What if you tried to slide across a wooden rough floor? You probably wouldn't move much. Why is it easier to slide on the smooth surface floor than the rough surface floor? The answer is friction. Friction is a force that holds back the movement of any object. Let's learn about types of friction. Rolling friction. Rolling friction occurs when a round surface like a ball or wheel rolls over a surface. Fluid friction is friction that occurs when objects move across or through a fluid. An example is swimming. Swimmer's body and the surface of the water. Although you normally hear about trying to eliminate or reduce friction, it actually has some important uses. Since friction is a resistance force that prevents or slows down the motion, it is necessary for many applications where you might want to hold items or do things and prevent slipping or sliding. Let's see some important uses of friction in our daily lives. Driving a vehicle on a surface. Walking on the road. Drilling a nail into the wall. Whoop! Sliding on a garden slide. Lighting a matchstick. Now you know that friction is very important in our daily life. It also has some disadvantages. The main disadvantage of friction is that it produces heat in various parts of the machines.
Welcome back from that interesting lesson. I believe you now know what friction is, the types of friction. How friction affects us in our daily life, and that is good. That now brings us to the end of our lesson. Remember to take your quiz. I'll see you soon. Stay safe.